Every day, there are a whopping 5 billion photos taken all over the world, and that number will only increase as we move into the future. Photography is a democratic art form that is accessible to nearly everyone. Smartphones, digital cameras, film cameras, whatever you choose, these will all take an image. But will they take a good image? And what constitutes a good, great, or exceptional image in 2023? Let's break down some key contributors to what makes an extraordinary image and unpack the importance of each of these elements in the hope of understanding others and our own work more clearly. Let's answer the question, what makes a photograph great? Capturing the moment is a huge part of creating a show-stopping image. Being at the right place at the right time and being able to execute the moment are all a combination of skill, luck, and the ability to act fast and be aware of your surroundings. This is something we see a lot in photography. It can be divine timing or how many street photographers work by waiting around in a spot for a person or light to hit exactly right to make the scene photo-worthy in their eyes. The moment you choose to push the shutter undoubtedly makes a difference. But is it the thing that makes or breaks a photo? Yes and no. A lot of famous photographs are leaning heavily on the moment. I would argue that photographs are more widely appealing if they catch a specific moment that the audience can really resonate with. If the viewer can see that the moment was fleeting or has that once in a lifetime, never really see something like this happen feel to it, it creates a sense of awe and fascination. I think moments work in many ways for our emotions too. War photographs capturing a certain horrific moment in time that can tell a story will carry weight. Or on the other hand, a more pleasing image, a child at a rare still moment, will evoke love and happiness. At the end of the day and at their boiled down elementary state, photographs really all are just moments in time. Whether that moment is historically important or it's just a flower in bloom at spring, that isn't always up to us. There is a level of chance, timing, and luck here. So I would say moment only contributes a certain amount, and for sustainably impressive images, it isn't a point I would personally want to rely on, but this depends on your photographic habits and desires. Location, location, location. This is the thing that can often end up defining a photographer's body of work. Where you are will play a huge role in the kind of work you create, and this can be to your advantage or your disadvantage. I think examples of people who really make the most of their location are photographers like Jason Hunter, aka Fuji Hunter. He lives in a quite unremarkable small town in America with not a whole lot going on, but he manages to create these amazing, minimal, but really striking compositions out of everyday things that he sees, and he really makes the most out of his town. So rather than letting his location hold him back, he's actually made it his signature style, and it's what we all love him for. Location is sometimes a crutch too. If you live somewhere like Paris or New York, there are so many photo opportunities of iconic places that are really stunning, but are also very saturated. However, general everyday people who aren't photographers themselves will 100% value these iconic images over, say, a Jason Hunter or a Lucy Lumen photo because it is memorable and a landmark, so it has been validated as something of value. It's easy to digest for the viewer, And it's something that we're programmed, even as photographers or anybody, to want to take a photo of when we see it. I live near the beach, for example, and whenever I'm there, I feel so compelled to take a photo as it's so beautiful. But every time I do, I always end up being really uninspired and kind of bored by those results. I opt for including a bright, sunny feel to my work without really actually photographing the beach or beach culture too much. So yes, some people are blessed to live in certain corners of the world to be able to make work that will be popular and sell more. But is this a huge contributing factor to creating exceptional photographs? I would say this is pretty low on the list. Some photographers even take their location with them in a sense. I was listening to a podcast that I will link below called Emulsions, which was about William Eggleston and his style and photography. And they were commenting saying even when he was in different parts of the world, it still looked kind of southern, as if he had brought the South to whatever place he was in and photographing. So location matters, but it certainly isn't essential when creating exceptional work. I often find that images and bodies of work with meaning are chosen for competitions or to be shown by galleries, and curators tend to favor work that holds some kind of meaning. It is rare to see an exhibition or series of photographs that is being celebrated purely for its visual nature without having some kind of meaning to it. You could argue that everything has meaning, and even if we didn't initially create one, it has to come from somewhere. So what is more important, meaning or visuals? Can an expertly composed photograph be just as good as a photograph that conveys immense meaning or has a rich story and intention for its viewer? Do we always need a story, or can things just be visually pleasing but still highly regarded? This is such a huge topic for me, and I am really excited to bring it up on the channel. It's something I've been thinking about for quite a while, so please comment below and let me know what you think. I swing back and forth with this regularly. I have worried in the past that my own personal work has a ceiling because it isn't exploring themes of identity, religion, gender, politics, or even place particularly. I don't develop or print my own work, and I don't even choose film for its process necessarily. In an image, I want color at the forefront and for composition to be slightly unconventional. I want the image to arrest you and demand your attention through its vibrancy and unique choice of framing and or subject. Is that enough to pass the test though? Will society and the art world choose the exploration of the female body, or the documentation of the decline of our environment, or large format portraits of people doing extraordinary things? The list goes on here. Is my red wall or lone chair enough to walk the walk and talk the talk of a profound artist? These are the questions that keep me up at night. For me, I am more concerned with the visuals, the placement, and the overall resulting image. Does that mean less meaning? Images in galleries can sometimes seem underwhelming or not really that interesting to me until I read the little plaque next to them and I have some context. Personally, I would want the image to be the focal point and not need a context to back it up. I want the image to be good on its own without any explanation. I just raised so many questions, so please comment below and let me know what you think about all of this.
Place shadow on zone 1. High value will fall on zone 9. Normal minus development indicated.
So there are a group of people who would judge a photograph on the merit of skill and the sort of skill that it took to nail that image. Whether that's the operation required to nail a photo on a particular format or piece of gear, or the use and application of years of knowledge that a photographer is using to execute a certain look or work with a difficult lighting situation. Sometimes greatness can be measured in skill, and where that's not really an area I shine in, I can understand and appreciate celebrating artists based on skill. Especially since skill comes with a lot of hard work and dedication to one's craft. My partner, for example, prides himself on a photograph that really nails focus when shot wide open, as it shows skill and precision. Therefore, in turn, he likes this photo more than others and places value on it because of the skill that it took. I, on the other hand, am often completely blind to technical prowess and go for generally just what looks good on face value. I think this particular component of discussing what makes a photograph great really highlights our own bias and leaning towards what we think is important, which is exactly why it's so hard to have a black and white answer to this question. Art is fluid, as are many things in life, like the perfect food or a certain style of fashion or trend. We are all different, and photography really shines a light on how differently we see and interpret the world around us. So while skill is important and maybe more important depending on what kind of photographer you are and what kind of work you want to create, I don't think it is the one defining thing that makes one photo better than another. So the way time interacts with the importance of things is a really interesting thing to talk about. A lot of art gets the appreciation it deserves decades after it was created, and photography is no exception here. There is also the nostalgia effect of a body of work suddenly becoming more appealing or interesting or even relevant much later on. I think now we are all extremely nostalgic for the past, and that turnaround time for that nostalgia is getting shorter and shorter. When we look at Stephen Shaw photographs, we long for things to look the way they did in that decade, or Nan Goldin's brilliant depiction of New York and the grittiness it had that it lacks now. I would say that an era has a huge part to play in whether a body of work is great or worthy of more attention than others. Some decades just look better than others. Nostalgia adds a layer of emotion to things that we wouldn't have had when we were looking at the image when it was created. This is probably the one that is worth discussing further, and I feel we are very much looking back these days, and things that were so underappreciated or seen as obsolete for so long are now being very sought after. Does that make them always great, but we just didn't know it at the time? Or is it a result of merely time passing and that thing now seeming more profound or interesting? Location, the moment, meaning and context, skill and time are all at play when creating extraordinary work. But do we need all of them or just some? Do we focus on an area that we feel creates the images that we see as great, or do we bend a little to appeal more to wider society? So many questions come up here, and I know that the answers would all be different for every photographer. There really is no right or wrong answer here. So I invite you to take a look at your own body of work and use these components that we've discussed here today to ascertain what makes one image better than another or one more extraordinary than the other. Comment below, let me know your thoughts, and let me know how you get on with this little experiment as well. Thanks for watching.